never really had trouble with that trust issue with remote team members.
Mhm.
It wasn't because I didn't trust them. It wasn't because they weren't amazing at what they did. My problem mostly was the fact that I had hired people in the past that they were further ahead in the process than I needed at that moment.
And as always, Build Your Team is brought to you by Client Attraction Pros. Hey, it's time that you become the thought leader of your industry, and we're going to help you do that and make it fast, easy, and fun. So, one of the challenges that people have when they go virtual is actually finding staff that they can trust because for whatever reason, and there are tons of them, we innately feel like in order to trust you, I have to see you. I have to be able to put my hands on you. I've got to touch you, right? I got to be able to look over your shoulder. So, what was that process like for you, especially coming from the broadcast world, which is very in your face? Like everybody's got to be there, right?
I never really had trouble with that trust issue with remote team members. I never really have had that. My problem mostly was the fact that I had hired people in the past that they were further ahead in the process than I needed at that moment. So, for
Mm.
example, twice I actually hired an OBM, an online business manager. But at that point, when I had hired one and then a second OBM at different stages, like at different periods,
Mhm.
it wasn't because I didn't trust them. It wasn't because they weren't amazing at what they did. I didn't have my own stuff together.
Yeah.
I was trying to hire someone that was inappropriate for the stage that I was at. I was
Wow.
just too early, too green, and I didn't need that level of person at that moment. What I needed in retrospect now was I needed a virtual assistant as opposed to an OBM. I didn't know that at the time. And I think the case with team building is sometimes you don't know what you don't know. An OBM is an online business manager. It's like a person that manages, and if you have a team of virtual assistants, like an OBM would manage the team of virtual assistants, I say beneath them. I hate to use that term, but if we're talking about a hierarchy, that's
Yes.
how I understand it to be. So when I hired the online business manager, and literally that's a person, to my understanding, who is really going to be managing the actual business. That means everything to do with finances and everything that's happening in the business. The problem was that at that time, I didn't have enough to manage. Like, there wasn't enough to manage. I think the reason why I had gone down that path to hire an OBM twice was because I probably read an article. I had heard said somebody else who was successful, who I wanted to emulate that level of success, had an OBM. I'm like, well, if I want to be them, and we often hear that in entrepreneurship, right, Atiba, is that
Absolutely.
act and behave at the point at which you want to be, not necessarily where you are. So I
Yes.
thought, well, if successful people have OBMs, then I must have an OBM. And that's kind of what happened. That's my understanding of what an OBM is, as opposed to a virtual assistant. And I have an amazing virtual assistant now. And I almost hesitate to call her a virtual assistant because to me, she's so much more than that. But she is really someone who I can delegate tasks to and know that she is going to be able to take them and be able to run with the systems that we've already outlined to complete certain tasks.
And as always, Build Your Team is brought to you by Client Attraction Pros. Hey, it's time that you become the thought leader of your industry, and we're going to help you do that and make it fast, easy, and fun.